Remix on the Roman Empire. Okay, so here we are. This is our introduction chapter for 7th grade. And we start here because I know in 6th grade you left off with the fall of Rome. And so this is going to just be a brief chapter or section on why do we care about the fall of Rome and how does this impact me today. Okay. And the reason why we start with Rome is because Rome will impact, the Roman Empire will impact much of what we talk about throughout the year and much of what we talk about through next year. And in reality, the Roman Empire has done a fantastic job at still remaining alive today, even though it only exists in Latin class or many people's minds or Hollywood movies. So the first thing we're going to focus on is, first of all, why is Rome important? And second of all, we're going to talk about the decline of Rome. What caused this great, massive empire to fall? You will see many movies about it. A lot of people love to talk about it, but really what happened? And one of the things that you need to understand with the decline of Rome was it was not something that happened overnight. This is something that happened with a culmination of many factors, not just one thing, but many things had to come together over a few hundred years to cause this wonderful, amazing, great empire to fall. So we're going to get started here. So this little guy right here, our little Praetorian Guard that you probably have heard about, Praetorian Guard, he would have actually taken charge of controlling or keeping the emperor safe. And obviously this is a horse. They did not actually do this in Roman times. All right, the horse would have been here. Yay, ha 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 ha. Let's move to a different color. Let's go to number 3. All right, so first and foremost, something you should be very familiar with is the size and location of the Roman Empire. For those of you who are not aware, this is what you would consider Europe, Northern Africa, right here, where it says Africa. This is Northern Africa. Africa is a very large continent. Over here we have Egypt, which I know you guys studied a lot last year. And over here we're going to have what you would consider the Middle East today, Israel, Palestine, Asia Minor. Right here, this is the Bosphorus Strait. This is considered Turkey today, the country of Turkey. Big mesh of Asian culture, Christian culture, European culture. This is really kind of the gates from connecting Europe to the Middle East over here. Let's go back because I wasn't quite done with that. All right, so some things that you should be aware of. Look at the size of the Roman Empire. And one of the things that you can always guess on how well an empire is doing, oftentimes, is how big it is. And this will end up being one of the reasons why the Roman Empire will fall. So if you look at it, it goes all the way up here into the United Kingdom, okay? So we're up here in the United Kingdom, Great Britain. We're going to come all the way down. We're going to control North Africa, Morocco, Egypt, through the Middle East, moving over to Turkey, into parts of Russia, into Eastern Europe. Think of Austro-Hungary, Germany, all of these areas. Austro-Hungary, that country doesn't exist anymore. Anyways, here is Gaul, lovely little country that you would like to call France. France. So fancy. Look at that writing. Super fancy. Okay, so moving on. Territory is big. Oh, actually on this other side note is, a lot of people call this the Roman Sea instead of the Mediterranean Sea because literally, I mean, do you get it? The Roman Sea, who controls the entire sea. All right? It's controlled by Rome, in case you didn't get that, all right? They have ports everywhere, so they do control this. Pretty big thing, all the trades going on throughout here as well, okay? All right, so we're going to start off with why did Rome fall, okay? So we have multiple factors. I'm not going to bore you with all 1 million of them, but I will hit on some of the more important ones. The first factors we're going to look at is how the Roman economy declines. And when you think of economy, you should be thinking of things such as, how does a country make its money? And it doesn't necessarily have to just be money, but what kind of goods do they produce to survive? What kind of input do they have? What kind of output do they have? Are people from other countries trading with them? When your economy slows down, something that we've been experiencing here in the United States for a while, you will see people who start to become a little bit more dissatisfied. When an economy is growing and booming, people tend to be a little bit happier. So you can imagine that when an economy stops making as many goods or people stop making as much money, they're not going to be as happy. Okay? though I know they say money cannot buy you happiness. Some people will beg to differ. You decide. No new sources of silver or gold. That means there are less precious metal. First of all, precious metal means we're talking about silver or gold. That means something that is precious, not like Lord of the Rings. Precious. All right, so no new sources of silver or gold. What that means is they have large boundaries, but eventually in the earth, there's only so much silver or gold to be found. And when you stop finding that resource, then you're not going to have as much in circulation in your economy. That means there's less money to go around. And if you continue to have more people will want money of their own. And if you have a higher population but not enough money to go around, I think you can see the unhappiness. All right? Number 2, this is something your parents are going to complain about. This is something that you yourself will probably complain about. Taxes. Nobody likes taxes. The theory is taxes are used for the army. Taxes are used to build roads. Taxes are used to build schools. Taxes are used for healthcare, different things like that. To supplement people's retirements. That's what taxes are used for. Firefighters, police departments, that's what taxes are used for. But when people have their taxes raised, that means that there's less money coming in. When they have less money coming in and more money going to the government, that does not make them happy because they would like to buy goods with those tax dollars, right? If you have more money, you'll buy more things, more products, more purses, more shoes, more candy, whatever. Now, if all your money is going to taxes, that's less money for you to go and spend on all the things that you personally want, all right? Moving on, attempting to make coins with less precious metal leads to inflation. So what that means is if you used to get a silver coin or a gold coin, it was almost purely made of silver or almost purely made of gold. Well, since you don't have those precious metals anymore, since they're really hard to find, you start actually making metal coins and putting just a little bit of gold on top. So that means back in the day, an original silver coin would have been worth a lot more, whereas now you just have a piece of metal or a piece of coin, that doesn't make sense, but whatever. So you have a metal that is thinly covered in silver or gold, and that's not what people really want. So it devalues what you can buy. So it leads to inflation, meaning that because your money's worth less, you actually have to have more money to buy the same product. So if we were all walking around with millions of dollars in our pockets and that was just normal for us on a day-to-day basis, the price of a candy bar, which is about 50 to 75 cents, depending on what you're getting, big spenders, the price of a candy bar would increase to something ridiculous, let's say $5, $10 for a candy bar, if we're all walking around with $1 million in our pockets. That's inflation, when your money buys you less than what it used to. Another big product is over here. You can see these guys working hard. This is agriculture. They're working in the fields. So overworked soil leads to drop in production. If you use the same land over and over and over and over again, it will decrease the productivity of your soil, meaning that your crops may be a little weaker, that you're not going to grow quite as much. Keep in mind, Rome still has a large population. So if you're not producing as much food for your people, if you're not producing that, then people are going to be very angry because now they don't have money. And if they do have money, food costs more. And if they don't have enough money, they're not going to be able to get food. So you can kind of see that they're having some problems with the economy. Hopefully you don't have any questions. If you do, see me. Unemployment. This might sound familiar. All right. This is something our country has been talking about for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. It's all about the unemployment. You turn on the news. I'm sure when you're turning on the radio or whatever, this is not what you want to hear about, but unemployment, it's a big issue. If people don't have jobs, they don't make money. If they don't make money, they can't buy goods. If they can't buy goods, then the people who make those goods don't make money, okay? In addition to the fact, if you don't have a place of employment, you may not have a home. You may not have food, the bare necessities to actually survive. All right, so one of the big things that's happening are that wealthy Romans are actually leaving the cities. So they're like, oh, Rome is so hot and dirty, it's gross, yuck. And so they move to like these giant palatial estates out in the country. Think of like Tuscan villas with like just lots of land and those pointy trees like that. See, that's the pointy trees. I think they're called cypress or something like that. I'm not an expert on trees. I'm not an arborist. All right. So imagine all these wealthy Romans who go in and buy all this land out in the countryside. Okay. Here's gorgeous. Look at that meandering water. Lovely. So they take over all this land. Okay, so a question, obviously, as you can read here, is think about this. What problems does this cause? You have wealthy Romans who come and buy up the land. Who does that put out of work? Who loses jobs? Okay. You guessed it. Small farmers, people who used to own a few acres who could actually maybe make enough food for their family, are now being kicked off the land. Their land has been purchased, and also because they're of the lower class, they're oftentimes being removed from the land so that, of course, the wealthy Romans don't have to deal with such lower class people, if you will. So the small farmers head to the cities. Okay, well, so now you have, the more people you have heading into the cities, the more people you have vying for jobs. Very important. All right. If people don't have jobs, they can't provide for their family. So if you have more and more people vying for jobs, then that also will cause the price of how much you have to pay somebody to go down. So if you're looking to hire people, it's great for you because you have all these people who need a job, who want a job. So you can pay them less because they'll be willing to work for more. All right? And one of the things I want you to think about, and this is just something to continue to think about the chapter, is going back to the wealthy Romans and how they impacted the small farmers. Why can't these small farmers who actually could stay on their land, why can't they compete? Okay, so that's one of your questions to kind of think about. Just use common sense to rationalize, okay, to figure that out. The military downfall. Well, this handsome devil obviously comes from a video game. Very fun. All right. First of all, when you pay your soldiers, that's what a mercenary is. A mercenary is a paid soldier. So it would be like China hiring, U.S. soldiers or ex-soldiers. Well, as long as you pay them, they're going to be loyal to China. But if you don't pay them, they're not going to be loyal. So you got to be very careful about using mercenaries. It's a very common thing to actually use, and countries still actually use mercenaries today. United States has been known to use mercenaries. But most of the mercenaries, just for example, a lot of mercenaries came actually from Germany during the American Revolutionary War. The British like to use the mercenaries. But once again, if you don't pay them, they'll go on to somebody else. So be careful of loyalty with that. So mercenaries are not loyal to the Romans, but more loyal to the highest bidder. And if you really tick them off, they may not care how much money you pay. They just might want revenge. The fact is that people are upset about taxes, and so you have low funds for defense. Defense means that you need an army. Okay, so if I'm paying mercenaries, but my funds are low, then I'm probably not going to have very many mercenaries to defend the giant borders that are my country. Okay, once again, the territory is too big to defend. Let's go back to this slide really quickly. This slide right here, territory is huge. I'm going to go ahead and stop this because that's really long. Oh.